Business processes define the workflow for an application. I can create a new process starting with a blank canvas or use one of the existing patterns. Each pattern includes a sequence of flow elements that can be modified to fit the desired workflow. I like to start by adding roles and swim lanes to the process. I add the primary role that is responsible for completing the activities within the specified swim lane, and add additional swim lanes as needed. Next, I edit the process to fit my workflow. Renaming the activities makes them more meaningful. Gateways are used to create various paths within the process flow and can be used to define simple decisions. Once I have all the flow elements in the appropriate swim lanes, I add the sequence flows. Sequence flows define the order in which the work is performed within the process. I add names to the sequence flows so I know how the process will flow out of the gateway, and then set the conditions for the sequence flows to determine the default flow and the conditional flow. Finally, I specify the implementation details for the process. I want my users to start this process by completing a web form. For the human tasks, I specify what user or role will perform the task, what web form they are to use, the action to perform, the title and task summary I want the user to see in Workspace for this task, and the due date and priority for the task. The expression editor can be used to specify the value for the assignee, title, and task summary fields, providing more flexibility with the use of data objects and operators.
The Data Association Editor lets me define the information passed between flow elements. Creating a data association for the selected flow element involves dragging and dropping a data object into the input field and a payload object into the output field. Since this process uses a web form to collect information from my users, the form's data object becomes the input. This data object was automatically created when the web form was created. A data object stores the information used in the process. This information is assigned to the input payload and used on the form. To capture the result of a user's actions with the form, a data object is assigned as an outcome. A data association is automatically created when a human task or a start event with a web form are added to a process. These data associations are between human tasks. Data associations can also be configured to and from another process or service invoked from a business process, or to and from a decision.
I save the process, and then validate the application to ensure there are no errors. Thank you for watching. For more information, be sure to visit cloud.oracle.com/process.